So I believe without a doubt that we've exhausted the subject of Amen, and today I want to move on to Yahweh, from the God Amen to the God Yahweh. These Amen and Yahweh and Satan are the three major gods in the scriptures or the Bible. Not to say there are no other gods. I mean three major gods that are made visible, very visible in the Bible. And that's not to say there are not other gods. I mean, we have Asheroth, we have Dagon, we have Babel, we have Pleiades. We have so many of these gods. So without a doubt, there are other gods, so many gods in the Bible, but the three main gods that really catches the eye of everybody in the Bible is Amen, Yahweh, Satan. And I know somebody will be like, what? Satan is a god? Yes, Satan is one of the gods, and I'm going to deal with Amen now. And as soon as I'm done with Amen, I'm going to come to Satan, and I believe it's going to be an amazing discussion when we come to Satan, because the world has a perspective of who Satan is, and the scriptures also tell another story. Not my story, not my opinion, but the very scriptures that everybody reads, especially Christians and Hebrew Israelites and all these comes read, tells a different story about Satan. But let's stay with Yahweh, the God of Israel. Let's go deeper. Aquaba. I get excited, without a doubt. Every time I get opportunity to come your way, I'm always humbled, and I always bless the powers that be and the Creator for giving me this opportunity to be having conversations with you. I would rather want to call it conversations. That is why I always read your messages. And I want to quickly say a big thank you to everybody that made our donation possible this past Saturday. I mean, we went to the schools and we made some donations, and I don't really pay or publicize too much in the public what we do with regards to orphans and stuff like that. So if you want to see what we did, you can just hit me up on WhatsApp. My WhatsApp number is in the description, or you can just click on the YouTube WhatsApp, the Melanated Truth WhatsApp community page, and invite yourself onto the page, and you can ask for the pictures of your video, and I will show you what we did last Saturday. But listen, bless everybody that made it possible for us to donate. Our next donation will be in the first week of October. Our next donation will be in the first week of October, and I'm excited. I think it's going to be awesome. I think it's going to be amazing. So if you missed out on this one, make sure you are in tune and you are constantly checking out what's happening, because in October we are definitely going to go again, first week in October, and it's going to be awesome. That being said, I want to say a big thank you to everybody that supported, everybody that made it possible. My prayer is that the Creator himself would keep opening up opportunities for you, and the powers that be would keep setting you up with great opportunities, that you would come into amazing blessings, so much so that you would extend your hand to those that really need your help. So I love you guys. Thank you so much. And I do this without a doubt, that every time I come on, I want to read the comments and the questions of the previous post, and I want to do that quickly. The last post I made is don't follow after other gods. That is Spirit Friday. And I want to quickly go into it and address some of the questions that came up during Spirit Friday. So I got a question from our sister Yosin, Annette Yosin. It says, they have been deceiving us since childhood. Hey, the truth is clear now. Bless you. Bless you right back, Sister Annette. Hope you and your family are doing great. From our elder Malakia says, I'm just waiting for you to show us what you are doing so we can learn. Hopefully Sunday on Zoom. Yes, yesterday we did a Zoom meeting. Those of you who missed, I would encourage you to try and make sure you don't miss coming Sunday. It was awesome. I touched on libation. So if you missed it, you can contact our elder Malakia, and she would definitely, I think she has audios and some videos, and it will be a great blessing to you. So she said, I'm just waiting for you to show us what you are doing so we can learn. Hopefully Sunday on Zoom. She came again and said, last thing I want to say is I'm Hosa teacher. I want to say it's my Hosa teacher said she called on Jesus and Yeshua when she was being attacked and the demon laughed at her. She went back to her village and inquired about the name the elders used. It was Sunini Nanini. And she, let me read, and she used it the next time, and the demon broke their necks running. Sunini Namimi, put them to flight. Okay, so I believe I was talking about learning to call on the Creator by the language of your fathers. I would encourage you that you call on the name of the Creator by the language that your fathers spoke. So I believe that's what happened here about Malachia's Hosa teacher. Annette came again and said, bless you, I'm really waking up to the truth. Angela said, I think once you teach on Yah, I can begin to know how to pray and which name to use. Then I can learn my ancestors' language. That is what I'm waiting for. That's what I'm waiting for, your teaching on Yah, getting understanding of what to do and not to do. Yes. So listen, I'm here for you tonight, Angela. It says, Malakia, you are the best. Yes, she is. She is amazing. Malakia is amazing. So bless you. He says you are the best. Angela, listen, tonight is for you because I'm going to start with Yahweh today and I'll finish Yahweh tomorrow. And next week I'll deal with Satan. And Maria Peter said, powerful message, brother, powerful. I'm so ready to drop this English language. Yes. Ntombi, our mother in Ntombi said, thank you so much for waking us up. It is never enough, given that throughout our life we have been indoctrinated with foreign religions. The unlearning process is hard. You have to keep hearing the truth until it comes naturally. It becomes part of you from the inside. Exactly, that is absolutely true. It is an inside job. We have been messed up. Please keep teaching us, especially our spirituality is our core. A Kenyan author, Ngugi, talks about the colonization of the mind. See, Pastor, decolonize us. We appreciate and thank God for your life. May you increase in every way. Shiyambonga. Thank you. Shiyambonga. Siyambonga. I hope I said it right. Siyambonga. Thank you. Our sister Annette also came up and said, amazing. Bless you. Bless everybody that puts a comment here. Please let your comment come through. I will read them. Every comment that shows up, I will read them, mention your name, and let everybody knows how amazing you are connecting and contributing to this assignment. Please leave your comment. The more you leave your comment, please share the videos. Share the videos amongst your friends, amongst your community. I'm doing my job of waking you up. It's your job to also wake somebody up. And I have done the hard work by doing all the research and coming your way with the truth. You do the easy way by sharing it amongst your friends, your brothers and sisters. Don't wait till the last day. Then they look at you like, so you knew all this while. What are you going to say? Please, as soon as you hear this message, make sure you share. If it's a blessing to you, of course. If this message is a blessing to you, make sure you share with a brother, a sister, mother, uncle, father, nephew, niece, whoever it is. Make sure you share this with someone, and eventually our people would wake up. Bless you. I don't want to waste much of your time today. I want to go straight into action. You need to understand that whenever we mention Yahweh, we are not talking about a Christian God. Yahweh is not a Christian God. The Christian God is called Jesus Christ. The God of the Christians is called Jesus Christ. And you can say you belong to a Hebrew Israelite camp, so you cannot say Jesus Christ. You can call Yeshua, Yahushua, whatever name you want to call it. That is a Christian God and nothing else. In ancient time, nobody was worshiping anyone called Jesus. And as I go along, you would understand where the name Jesus is coming from. So Jesus is the Christian God. Yahweh is the God of the Jews. Before the European came into contact with Yahweh or the name Yahweh, our fathers called his name Yahweh. So before the Christians came to, or the Westerners came into contact with the name Yahweh, which is popularly known as Yahweh, our father already knew the existence of Yahweh. And they knew without a doubt Yahweh is one of the gods of the days, of the 7 days, which Christians call, or the Jewish call, the 7 spirits of God. So the God here, when they say 7 spirit of God, they are trying to refer to the Creator. Because Christians or the Jewish, or I don't know, to a certain extent the Islam or the Muslim, see God as the Creator. They are not able to tell the differences between the Creator and a God. But our fathers, our ancestry, our intelligence always explain to the fact that we have the Creator and we have the God. And there are 7 major gods, which is the 7 first sons of the Creator. And all these gods have feminine energies as well. And our fathers knew that Yahweh was a Thursday God. So when we go into the Gang community, the Gang community always pray and respond in Yahweh. This was not taught to them by a Jewish sect or a rabbi or a Christian apostle or anything. This is the custom and the tradition of the Gang people. So whenever they prayed, they always responded Yahweh. So Yahweh is not. When you go to our brothers and sisters in the Ever community, they also refer to the to the God, the Thursday God, as Yahweh. So I know a sister that has a family God, and the name is Yahweh. Yahweh. I hope I'm saying it right. The family name is Yahweh. So Yahweh is not any new God to us. But Yahweh was only introduced to the Western world around 700 BC downwards. Are you getting what I'm saying? So up until 700 BC, the Westerners had no clue who Yahweh is. They had never met him, they had never spoken to him. So from the beginning of creation all the way to 700 BC, or if you want to bless them with another 100 years, all the way to 800 BC, the Westerners had never come into contact with any God. That is why when you check the Bible story or the scriptures, you realize that the name Yahweh was not invoked from the beginning. That is why when you read all the way to Moses, nobody knew the name Yahweh. And as a matter of fact, it is not clearly stated even in the scriptures. People have modified it, and the modification is what Moses is introduced with the Tetragrammaton, Yhwh. That is a question on its own. We would handle that another time. But now let's just deal with the gods. So before the Europeans came into contact with our ancestors already knew who Yahweh was, or Yahweh, and Yahweh was just the Thursday God, who is the God of thunder, fire, and war. Who is the God of thunder and war, which thunder produces fire, God of fire at the same time. So Yahweh is just one of the gods, and our fathers did not call him Yahweh. As a matter of fact, when we say Yahweh, it's an expression. Maybe somebody is expressing agony or expressing impatience or something. Yahweh, like the person is in a desperate situation and the person is calling somebody, so they add Yahweh, which is Y-A-W. Yeah. Where. So in the Akan language, we call the Y yeah. Yeah. We call the A we call the W where. Are you getting where they're getting the name from? Yeah. 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 Where. So Yahweh. So our fathers never, we shorten, they say Yahweh. Yahweh. Where, yeah. Where, Yahweh. But when you want to stress, maybe somebody is in distress and want to express or stress the name, you say Yahweh. So our A is spelled E-E-I-I. A. So A is a combination of E, and E, is the E. Is the E, and E is the I. So our fathers had always had encounter or knew about who Yahweh was and knew Yahweh. Where, who, where, who, where. Yeah, where. Yet the Y is yeah, and where. So this is where the Westerners are getting the name Yahweh from, who is the God of thunder and of fire and of war. When you break it down, even Wednesday is also a God, but we'll study Wednesday when we come to another name of a God, which I don't want to mention now. By this breakdown, we can clearly see that what the Westerners called, or what the Western world called as God, is just one of the ancient gods in ancient Egypt, which is the god Yahweh, that is the Thursday god of the Akans, and that the original spelling of the name is Yahweh. The encyclopedia of religion will tell you that it was this word into which the vowels of the Hebrew name Adonai were infixed by Moses to get Yahweh, which means the Hebrew god Yahweh is an Akan god, which is the Thursday god. And this Hebrew people, this Ashkenazis, met this name, claimed the name, and worshiped the name. Jesus is a very modernized God made by the Westerners for everybody else to worship. And the process of populating or making Yahweh popular, populating the name Yahweh, is the same structure and is the same system and is the same principle that the Christendom used to populate or to make popular the name Jesus. Are you understand what I'm saying? So the name Yahweh has nothing to do with Christianity. No worshiper of Yahweh was a Christian, including, if you want to consider your Jesus Christ and all the apostles. None of them were Christians. So Christians are not directly connected to Yahweh. So if you are coming into this truth from the place of Christianity, then your God has never been Yahweh, but it has always been Jesus. It's always been Jesus. But if you want to go into technicalities of things, then it means that the minute you mention the name Amen, you worship Amen. You mention the name Yahweh, you give reverence to Yahweh. But that is not the main God of the Christian assignment or Christianity or the Christian religion. The main God of the Christian religion is Jesus. The main God of the Jewish religion is Yahweh. So Yahweh is a form of the Hebrew name of God used in the Bible. So around 300 BC, the name came into relevance and gained popularity, and it was seen as the most holy and the most sacred God, and it was too sacred to be spoken. So when you see the diagram on the screen right now, you can see how the name moved from Yhwh by the Hebrews to Yahweh. If the vowels were not in existence, how were they able to pronounce? How do you pronounce YHWH? How? Pronounce it. Try it. It's like giving the letters PHQZ. How do you pronounce that? PHQZ. How do you pronounce PHQZ? In the same way, you cannot pronounce YHWH. But our fathers could pronounce it because our writing, our letters, one letter sounded like a whole word. So when we say the Y, we say yeah. 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 So you are saying just the Y, but it sounds like yeah. 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 You are saying just the A, but it sounds like ah. 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 You are saying the W, but it sounds like where. Yeah. Where. Yeah. Ah. Where. So our fathers always knew the sound of the name of the Thursday God and could name it. But when this Westerners came to meet our fathers calling on the Thursday God, and those that taught the first time these people came into contact with our leaders, our spiritual heads, and learned the Thursday God and ran away with it, all they could know is that they could remember the tone of the name. They could remember the tone. They could pronounce it. But they didn't know how to spell it. That is why it took a long time for them to come up with the vowels A and E to be able to pronounce the name Yahweh. But our fathers had always had that. They've always had that. So you see the diagram straight. They infixed the name, the letters A and E to be able to pronounce the name that they've already heard our fathers. If you don't know how to pronounce the name, how do you get a sound out of it? You don't know how to pronounce, like when I spell the name. For example, if I give you the letters YMETM, how are you going to pronounce that? If you've never heard anybody say that word or pronounce that word, how on earth are you going to be able to pronounce that? It's the same way you can never pronounce YHWH. That's why I'm saying, when they met our fathers already knew the name of the Thursday God and were using it at the end of their prayer and were invoking it. Watch this video. Do you see how the elders are pouring libation but yet responding in Yahweh? Do you see how? So our fathers have always known the name Yahweh. In fact, whenever anybody is born on Thursday, they call him by the same name, Yahweh. So it was because they heard it from our fathers. That is how come they could infix the vowels A and E so that they could have the same sound as our fathers were calling the Thursday God Yahweh. As our fathers were calling the Thursday God Yahweh. But because where, so our W alone sounds where, they had to do the Yahweh. Yahweh. So you now know where it's coming from. Let's look at the next image. So as we see per this graph, around the 1800, nobody was using the name Yahweh. It was after 1850, there about, let's say 1860, 65 to 70, that is when people started knowing the name Yahweh and started using the name Yahweh. But by this time, our fathers have always known the name Yahweh and has used the name Yahweh. This is not news to our fathers. So the name Yahweh started rising in the 1850s all the way to 1870s. Then it started dropping again. Then around the 1900s, it started going up, and it's been made popular since. So when you really take a critical look, the name Yahweh have not been popular for more than 300 years. How can Yahweh be the creator of everything? Amazing civilizations has happened before 300, 400 years ago. But yet this name was not popular. Why? Why? Because they all know ancient times, everybody knew that Yahweh is not the creator of everything. That we have the creator and we have the God. A 4th century BCE quarter or shekel coin. So a 4th century BC, a quarter or shekel coin from the Persian province. We can see clearly on the screen a coin that was used at that time, possibly representing Yahweh seated on a winged or wheeled sand throne. So this coin was used to represent, it means that the ancient Jews or the Hebrew people had an image in mind about how Yahweh looks like. Now, how do you have an image of the Creator if nobody has seen the Creator? And according to the 10 commandments, he says, thou shalt not bow down to any imagery. So how can the same commandment that forbids the Jews to bow down to any image create an image? I mean, I have not seen any image of Amen-Ra. Images have been used to represent it. But as we can see here, it is trying to tell you that Yahweh is a Caucasian. Check the nose. Check the hair texture. This is not an African looking person. So they were trying to project an imagery around the 4th century BCE as to who Yahweh is. And don't forget how this imagery looks, because around the 4th century BCE, another person was invoked, another god was worshipped called Serapis. And the imagery of Serapis is almost looking like the imagery that they gave to Yahweh, because they were trying to make Yahweh very popular around that time. But around that time, the 4th century, the 5th century, 4th century, 3rd century, it was Serapis, the god Serapis, the Greco-Egyptian god Serapis. That was in power, that was known everywhere. Another made-up god. Are you getting where I'm going with this? So there is no way these people had an image of how Yahweh looks like and Yahweh became the creator. No. Yahweh was the national God of the kingdoms of Israel and Samaria. His origin reached at least the early Iron Age, apparently to the late Bronze Age. So Yahweh is not in existence, or not created, but it's not known. I'm talking about popularity. So what I'm saying is not in existence. I'm only talking about popularity. It's not known in the ancient era until around the 300 to 400 BCE. That's where Yahweh gets popular. So Yahweh becomes the national God of the Sumerians and the Judeans. His origins reach to at least the early Iron and apparently to the late Bronze, and in the older biblical literature. He is a storm and a warrior. He's a storm and a warrior deity. I already told you, our ancestors, our fathers have always known that the Thursday God is a God of thunder, a God of war and fire. We all knew this. So they are now discovering and they are now knowing who Yahweh is. But our fathers always knew, but knew him as one of the 7 gods. In the oldest biblical literature, he is a storm and a warrior deity who leads the heavenly army against Israel's enemy. So who leads the heavenly armies? So if Yahweh is leading the heavenly armies, then it does not necessarily make him the God of the heavens. But because he's the God of war, every time the war comes, he takes flight and he goes and fights the war. That is how come whenever there is war, you don't see the president or the king go first to the battleground. It's always the lieutenants, the high commanders that are always going to test the grounds and know everything. Then when it's so secure, the king can come. So there's the duty and the assignment of Yahweh in the heavenlies. At that time, the Israelites worshipped alongside a variety of Canaanite gods and goddesses, including El, Asherah, Baal. But in time, El and Yahweh became conflated. El-linked epithets such as El Shaddai came to be applied to Yahweh alone, and other gods and goddesses such as Baal and Asherah were absorbed into Yahwehistic religion. From the 9th into the 6th century BCE, the Yahwehistic religion separated itself from the Canaanite. So while they were saying the Yahwehistic started the entire movement with the Canaanite, is because our fathers, our ancestors were the ones that were settling or occupied Canaan. So it was in Canaan that these Westerners had an idea who Yahweh is and started learning about, because our fathers that were occupying Canaan at the time were worshiping Yahweh. So when they went into Canaan, Yah was like one of the main gods there, though they had other gods. But when they went into Canaan, they heard the stories of how Yah was a god of war and tender and all of that. Because of the agenda that they had, they knew Yahweh was the one that they were to go with, because they are a people of war and not of peace. So they separated itself or themselves from its Canaanite heritage. So the whole Hebrew formation, the whole Ashkenazi Jews, the entire group, the entire religion is coming out of our fathers. Canaan, the people who occupied Canaan were the same people in Egypt and were the same people in the western part of Africa. There was nothing like Canaan as in sea. It was a K, Ka-nan or Kani. Every time you hear the word Kani, Kani, it's talking about the Akans. So the Akans occupied Canaan because they dwelt in Canaan more. And when they came into contact with our fathers, they learned, and not just the Akans. I mean, we have the Igbo tribe, we have some of the Congolese tribe, we have a lot of tribes in Canaan. But the major tribe that occupied Canaan was the Akans. So all the system that these Jews adapted were all heritage, the heritage of the Canaan or Kani or Canaan or Kani or the Canaan for. They copied all these things from their Canaan heritage. So it came, the entire Jewish movement came out of Canaan. So they are not original. There's not a single thing that these Ashkenazi Jews do that is original. Every single thing is coming out of Canaan. And no, it's not the story, the Canaan story. It's not the story, a land flowing with milk and honey go and no, it's not that story. So the Yahwistic religion separated itself from its Canaanite heritage as Yahweh became the main God of the kingdom of Israel, Samaria, and of Judah. And over time, the royal court of the temple in Jerusalem promoted Yahweh as the God of the entire cosmos. So they promoted Yahweh. So Yahweh in ancient times was not a God of the cosmos, of the universe, but they promoted him. They worked behind the scenes to ensure that the popularity of Yahweh was seen all over the place. It was a political agenda. They did all that they can to ensure that Yahweh is seen and known by everyone around them, possessing all the positive qualities previously attributed to other gods and goddesses. So how they made Yahweh is that they made sure all the good qualities that these other gods and goddesses had, they took all of it and gave it to Yahweh. You see how they made up they amplified the God Yahweh, because that was their national God. So they needed to be sure that the entire world would come and worship Yahweh because of the agenda that they had. Strictly and highly political. By the end of the Babylonian captivity, the 6th century BCE, the very existence of foreign gods were denied. So didn't exist. They literally denied the existence of foreign gods. And Yahweh was proclaimed as the creator of the cosmos and one true God of all the world. So Yahweh was proclaimed as the creator. So this is a highly political thing. Of course, every God would want popularity. So for this God, Yahweh, to get a people that are willing to do anything to enforce a lie and establish a lie, trust me, you stand no chance. That is a powerful combination. A God that wants to be popular and a people that just can't wait to be the most popular people on the face of the earth. During the Second Temple period, speaking the name of Yahweh in public became regarded as taboo. The Jews began to substitute the divine name with the word Adonai, meaning Lord or my Lord. After the temple was destroyed in 7 CE, that's the common era, the original pronunciation was forgotten because they had stopped. Listen, if the thing was with them, if the name was with them and the name was about them, how can they forget? It's only when you go to learn something for some people that you can forget. How can they forget? Because the names of the gods were named after the people. I broke down some names the previous week, and I was telling you how even Amin's name is everywhere. So Yahweh, I told you, every male child that is born on a Thursday is called Yahweh. It's called by the name Yahweh, by the God Yahweh. The day itself is called Yahudah, Yahweh, Yahudah. The Thursday in the original tongue is called Yahudah. So how on earth did these people forget the name of their God? Because that wasn't their God. They borrowed this God. And they made this God look very righteous and very perfect, because they borrowed all the qualities from all the other religions, or all the other beliefs, or all the other gods that existed at that time. They borrowed all the qualities of all the other gods, and they pushed everything together to be the... Listen, this is public information. You cannot fight me. You cannot argue with me. This is public information. You cannot deny it. So the first one that I was reading about Yahweh was coming from the Wikipedia. Now let's go to the Britannica. Britannica is one of the go-to source when it comes to religious history or religiosity or everything that's got to do with religion. So it's like the encyclopedia of religion, the Britannica. So of course that is one place you can be reading your sources from. After the Babylonian exile in 6th century BCE, and especially from the 3rd century BCE on, the Jews ceased to use the name Yahweh for two reasons. As Judaism became a universal rather than a merely local religion. So it was a local religion, then the religion grew and became a universal. The more common now, Elohim, meaning God. So Elohim does not mean God. Elohim is plural for God, not God, meaning God, tended to replace Yahweh to demonstrate the universal sovereignty of Israel's God over all others. At the same time, the divine name was increasingly regarded too sacred to be uttered. It was thus replaced vocally in the synagogue ritual by the Hebrew word Adonai, which means my Lord, which was translated as Kyrios, Lord, in the Septuagint, the Greek version of the Hebrew scriptures. So see where all these names are coming from. These are all made up. The Masoretes, who from the 6th century to the 10th century worked to reproduce the original text of the Hebrew Bible, replaced the vowels of the name Yhwh with the vowel signs of the Hebrew words Adonai or Elohim. Latin-speaking Christian scholars substituted the Y, which does not exist in Latin, with an I or a J, the latter of which exists in Latin as a vibrant form of I. Thus, the Tetragrammaton became the artificial Latinized name Jehovah. As the use of the name spread throughout the medieval Europe, the initial letter J was pronounced according to the local vernacular rather than the Latin. So the initial letter J was pronounced according. So listen, all of this was happening only in Europe. This was not going on worldwide. All of this was only going on in Europe. So the issues they had, whatever that was going on, it was only happening in Europe. At this time, we and our ancestors knew our God, had relationship with our Creator, always have had a relationship. Our fathers have their spirituality, and this was the spirituality or the religion of the Europeans, and it was for them, and it had nothing to do with our fathers. So the introduction of Yahweh becoming the universal God, the creator of all, these are all, as you read it, you can go and read it later yourself. These are all man-made. Human beings sat down and said, you know what, let's not say this, let's do this, let's not do that, let's do this, let's put this together. This was not the creator giving any instruction to anybody. Although Christian scholars after the Reformation period used the term Jehovah for Yahweh, in the 19th and the 20th century, biblical scholars again began to use the form Yahweh. Early Christian writers such as St. Clement of Alexandria, so Alexandria is Egypt. So by this time, the Europeans have occupied Egypt and captured Egypt. So black people were not living in Egypt at that time. If they were, it was just a few. But the majority of them, the royalties, had all fled Egypt. This is how come they left them there and came to the western part of Africa and some central part and other places. Our fathers migrated and left them, and the Europeans were just there doing their own thing. So all these made up names, Jehovah, Yahweh, and all of that, these are the names by the Europeans and the formations of the Europeans. Listen, don't be too upset, don't be too angry when I'm telling you these things. I have been there, I have used these names, and I have called on these names in the 2nd century and had used a form like Yahweh, and this pronunciation of the Tetragrammaton was never really lost. Many Greek transcriptions also indicated that Yahweh should be pronounced Yhwh, should be pronounced Yahweh. Why? Because they knew our fathers were already pronouncing the name Yahweh. The meaning of the personal name of the God of Israel, and you always have to remember that Yahweh is the God of Israel. If you are not an Israelite or Ashkenazi, or you have nothing to do with the God of Israel. So Christianity has nothing to do with the God of Israel. The God of Israel is one of the gods of our fathers, our ancestors. And these Europeans came to copy it and made it their God. But our fathers knew, and it's just one of our gods. Because our fathers knew the Creator moves in perfection. So the Creator has a power that represents each and every one of His acts. So one thing cannot represent the Creator. The name Yahweh is nothing new to our fathers. Our fathers have always known, and our fathers have always known that Yahweh is the Thursday God. So when you are born on Thursday, the Thursday God is directly responsible for you, and you connect to the Thursday God every time you lift up your prayer and invoke His name. He will show up, He will appear. Like I said, I was personally called into the knowledge of the truth by Yahweh. I went asking, I went praying, and He came speaking. So nobody is denying the existence of the Thursday God, which they have taken and blown out of proportion and say He is the creator of the universe. No, the Thursday God is not the creator of the universe. You are a Thursday God. And I'm not throwing shade on the Thursday God. He called me. Every time I pray, I invoke the Thursday God. But I would never stand anywhere and say the Thursday God is the creator. So once you are born on Thursday, you are directly connected. So all Thursdays have a bit of temper. Every Thursday born. Every Thursday, not just a bit, has temper. Because your God is the God of thunder and strikes and fire and war. Are you understanding this? This is only introduction. I'll continue this tomorrow, and we will dissect everything tomorrow. I won't waste time at all tomorrow. Stay blessed. I'll see you. I love you. Catch you soon.